So that's it? Like Tiffany's not gonna come back and like start it off? That's funny. All right, well, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, right? So I trusted, hey, thank you guys all for being here. So listen, I'm really excited about today's call, and we want as much participation as we can possibly get. DJ, Debbie, myself, Tom, we all talked. This was, I think, Monday, and we reached out to some of the top agents in this group, and we asked them, what's your biggest challenge right now? And a lot of it came back to objections, some of the conversations that they're having, really moving people forward. And that's what we want to talk about today, and we do want to dive into it. And the funny thing is, it happened to be part of the thing that we started reading this new book, and I'm not asking you to go buy it or read it or anything like that. We're going to share from it from time to time, week to week, things like that. But it came up on this one chapter, and I did want to share it with you real quick and get your take on it right before we get started and get into those conversations, the scripts, the objection handlers, anything you guys can come up with. And so what I did ask for participation, either come to the screen and raise your hand, do whatever, put it in the chat, but we'd like as much participation as possible because we're just really looking to help. So anyway, I did want to get started with that. And so it's real quick. It's about a page and a half, real simple reading, but I did want to share it with you real quick. This chapter, and it said, don't bring charm to a gunfight. And here's what it says. When bank robber Willie Sutton was asked why he used a machine gun for his work, he said, you can't rob a bank on charm and personality. This is a machine gun corollary to Sutton's law. To be successful, you need to go where the money is, but you won't get the money if you're not prepared to win. In other words, when the stakes are high, don't rely on your charm alone. When leads and pipeline opportunities were abundant, you could get away with swimming naked. You could take shortcuts, skip steps in the sales process, bring your B game, and you could still close sales. You could fail to follow up, conduct shallow discovery, talk more than you listen, be transactional, and people would still buy from you. Now, that tide has gone out. Buyers can tell when your sales game has no close. To win in this environment, starting right now, you must sell better. How you sell matters far more than what you sell. With fewer buyers, the competition is fierce. Big companies will be armed with procurement departments whose mission is to protect the organization from making poor choices. Buyers have the upper hand. The few prospects and customers who are buying are more risk averse. They are fearful of making mistakes and hesitant to make decisions. Stakeholders are in a vulnerable position. The penalties for making mistakes can be severe. Mistakes can put their business, company, career, finances, or families at risk. This is why doing nothing, making no decision is often an emotionally safe choice, even when staying put is illogical. Fear, insecurity, and lack of trust are the genesis of human negativity bias. The human brain is attuned to what's wrong about how you are selling rather than what's right. Negative perceptions have a greater impact than positive perceptions when it comes to decision making. Almost done, bear with me. Buyers are scrutinizing your every behavior, word, and action. They are not looking for what you're doing right, they're looking for what you're doing wrong. Anything negative sticks out like a sore thumb. Over time, these small negative perceptions add up, building the case you cannot be trusted. In a crisis, when buyers feel the tiniest bit uneasy about you, they will not buy from you. Your good intentions don't matter. Buyers are judging you based on their intentions, not yours. To win consistently, you need to bring your A game and execute the sales process as perfectly and faithfully as humanly possible. This is your back to the fundamentals moment. When the stakes are high for every opportunity in your pipeline, don't rely on your charm and good intentions. Sell better. That's all I got. So, anyone's thoughts? I want to hear from you. Somebody said name of the book, please. I'll tell you real quick. So it's called Selling in a Crisis, 55 Ways to Stay Motivated and Increase Your Sales in Volatile Times, from the author named Jeb Blount, who also wrote the book Fanatical Prospect. All right, well, back to it. What did you think? What did you hear?
I agree 100%.
Thank you, Jay. You echoed a little bit, but thank you.
What I just heard when you were reading, and I can be quiet real quick so others can talk. What I heard was the book was written about 4 months ago to tell us what to do now, whether it was or it wasn't. It is a reality check, gut punch, to go and be the best that you can be, because you're not going to just get business because of the market right now. You got to go out and work for it. So don't bring charm. You got to master everything else. So you got to work harder. You got to grind. You got to dig in. So the ground is getting very cold, and you just got to dig a little bit deeper for those worms, right?
You do. And Joey just said, and I think you're spot on, Joey. It is, you need to really focus on honing your skills. Like, that's it. And we talked about it. I mean, we said this is a skills-based market. Nothing new. Been talking about it for months. Lots of, you saw people at EXPCon and some of the different conversations. If you did watch any of it, that's exactly what they talked about. Honing in on your skills, right? Getting better at that. We can no longer rely on the way that we were doing things before, and maybe our lack of skill, or even just, one of the things that we talked about yesterday was not really doing a full-on needs analysis, going really deep with people and having the ability then to move them forward. So that, if we get to it and somebody wants to talk about it, we can talk about that. Deb, DJ, anyone?
I just want to say that what I have seen and heard, and I keep looking at, is fierce competition. Over the years, as a team leader and as manager for other brokerages, we've always said there's enough business to go around. But you know what? There's not. And so if you're not prepared and you don't have a system in place, you're going to get pushed out of the way, because people that are competitive, the tough ones, they're going to knock you out of the race.
100%. Go ahead.
Jay mentioned also that agents have become very relaxed across the board, including himself. I would say that the agents on this call may have become relaxed. Real estate is I have a really, really strong sales background, and I've studied sales for 40 years, and I've worked in some very, very hard selling, think dice, knocking on the doors, not that, but I've worked in timeshare. And so I really understand the anatomy of a sale and the skill that's required to take someone from, I'm never going to buy that, to giving you $20,000. Real estate is one of the few professions where no skill is required in a good market. My husband was a sales trainer in the timeshare industry, so he actually taught the people how to develop their sales skills. And he's stunned at the lack of necessity for sales skills for real estate agents, because he would say, why don't people knock on doors and convince people to sell? I say, because they don't have your skill, honey. They can't knock on a door and convince somebody to sell. You can, but they can't, because you can be really successful if you talk to enough people with no skill. But in these markets, that's why we have an 8 out of 10 get out of the business in 3 years cycle, because without skill, you can't survive in a market. In a buyer's market, seller's market all day long, buyer's market. No, by the way, we've had a seller's market for 10 years, 10 years, a very long seller's market. So your skill, your ability to develop, and by the way, it doesn't take a lot of effort. It takes small focused practice every day. If you had 15 or 20 minutes a day to practice your skill, and you did it 4 days a week, you're going to kill it. I would have agents come to me when I was running an office and say, I don't know if I want to get a real estate license because of the competition. And here was my response. And it was designed to kind of smack them in the face a little bit. There's never competition for talent. Never. There is no competition. If you have moderate skill, you will win in this market. If you have mediocre skill, you will not. But it's so easy to develop it. So my question is, will you commit to your success by committing to developing your skill? Find a partner, 15 to 30 minutes a day, 4 days a week, not even 5. 3 days a week. I would argue 3 days a week if you're going to give it 30 minutes to get better at the conversations that buyers and sellers are having right now and prospecting conversations, and you will kill it in this market. Kill it. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Good morning to everybody, guys. How are you?
Hi, Jacobo.
How's going on, Deborah? Perfect. Well, nothing. What I want to share, how you guys prepare for this kind of market, which is your concrete strategy, how you prepare yourself to the new beautiful opportunity.
Scripts. Y'all hate that word, scripts. It's getting good at talking to buyers. It's getting good at talking to sellers. And it's getting good at what Curtis and DJ and I call the needs analysis, which means if you're talking to a buyer or you're talking to a seller, you have to understand what's motivating them today. And most of the time, we snorkel instead of scuba dive. We talk to a buyer and we say, what are you looking for? And they say 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and a pool. And off we go in the car and off we go to show them property. And then they come to us and say, I don't know why my buyer won't write an offer. And the first question we ask any agent that comes to us that says they have a buyer or a seller challenge with not moving forward, we say, why are they moving? Well, they need a bigger house because they're having a baby. Well, why do they need a bigger house? Because they're having a baby. And we get the deer in the headlights. Well, they're having a baby. Well, what's their current house offering them? I don't know. When's the baby coming? I'm not sure. What's going to happen if they can't find a place? I don't know. What's making them look for property right now? I'm not sure. So when you get good, here's the thing, and I think most of us struggle with this. We are working with unmotivated buyers and sellers. And no matter what you do with an unmotivated buyer or seller, you're not going to motivate them. But you have to know who's motivated, who's not motivated. I had a buyer from out of town come down to look at property. She wanted to buy a second home. By the way, not motivated. Second home buyers generally aren't motivated unless they have some trust that says if they don't buy a house by X, then they don't get the money. Other than that, they're not motivated. Now, I went and showed her property, knowing full well that she probably wasn't going to write an offer. But that was my choice because I understand her motivation. But when you're limited on time and you're working with motivated buyers, you can't spend time on unmotivated buyers. You just can't. However, so you have to develop your skill to find out their motivation and then only work with the motivated. Now, can you move a slightly motivated buyer or seller forward? You might. Your skill in sharing the market and poking at them and asking questions. So someone, that same client that's having a baby, they have a 1-bedroom apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment. They're in one, their 2-year-old is in the other. The 2-year-old's a boy, and they know the new baby is going to be a boy. Could they make a 2-bedroom apartment work if they had to? They probably could. So I've got to find out how committed they are, because now when they're talking about interest rates and things like that, and I don't know if it's the right time and maybe we should wait, I got to find out how painful it will be for them to stay in that 2-bedroom apartment. You know, was their dream to be able to get, by the way, some babies tend to stay in the parents' bedroom for a little bit. Maybe some parents do that. right? So you really have to get in and find out, because if they said, oh, you know what, the baby's a boy, and if we had to, we could put the two boys together. And would it be disruptive for the toddler? Yes, but we're okay with that. I got to dig a little more. I'm not sure how strong their motivation is or their commitment. Are you pre-approved? Some of you are concerned about asking that question, because if you consultative sales, Laurie put in there, excellent. We've got to get good at the consultation. You know, yes, it will be disruptive. How concerned are they that their toddler, if their toddler is going through the terrible twos and now putting a crying baby or a baby who's not on a schedule in the toddler's bedroom, that may be too much for them to handle. I don't know. Oh my gosh, Robert is too, oh my God, he's cranky. He's not sleeping well. I don't think we can handle it. Now, when they say, what about interest rates? I said, well, let me ask you, are you okay with staying in your home? Are you okay with staying in the apartment? Because interest rates don't matter to motivated people. They have to move. And we have to have good at that conversation. So Jacopo, what you asked was good at the consultation so that we understand their motivation. So every time that they slow down in the transaction, I can take them back to the motivation. I don't know if we want to make an offer on this house. Okay, well, this is the only one that you guys really liked. Are you okay with not moving and being stuck in your apartment? Taking them back to the motivation helps them make a decision. If they're not motivated, you can't overcome that objection. You can't overcome and make somebody motivated that isn't. Yeah, let them answer. Don't talk first. Yeah, thank you. And then, so then getting good at what the buyer's pain is. So right now it's interest rates and waiting for the market crash, and sellers with listing or not wanting to take an offer, making sure they get their home priced right to start with. And then helping them recognize that the offer on the table is the best offer they're going to get and they should negotiate. So those are, Jacopo, the consultation, those buyer motivation, and then objection handling, and then seller motivation, objection handling. Those skills are going to be critical. And the agents that get medium good at that are the ones that are going to survive and thrive in this market. If you don't develop that skill, there's concerns about whether you're thanks, Fred. You want to stay the balance of the meeting, but winning the real estate Super Bowl, hire me or Curtis or DJ to help you move forward. Thanks, Fred. So feedback or ahas, and then we want to have a little bit of time to do a real quick role play, a couple role plays, role models, I should say.
Well, that, Deb, and we'd like to hear from anybody about any objections or challenges they're facing with their conversation. And
Yeah.
maybe we can work that out, right? So we have an agenda of things that we prepared, but we also want to hear from you guys. So listen, this is your call and we're all here. So love to help in any way we can. Go ahead.
Let me just add one thing before you move on, and that is you also need to think outside the box. I hate that phrase, but I'm going to use it anyway, as to where your clients come from. Because what you're used to now, you've been used to in this market, is that they just show up. And now you're going to have to take control of where they come from. So, for example, I was talking to a realtor a couple of weeks ago who went and did a presentation for a retirement home. And it was something that her background was working in retirement homes. She did a presentation for people that were thinking about moving in there. And the people that own the retirement home actually own 7. And they have now asked her to come in and do workshops for people moving in for the next, like every month in all 7 of them. And she has listed I think 8 homes in the past 2 weeks from that. So nobody thinks about that. You have to go get your clients now. So you're going to have to find where they are. And that's just a skill you need to develop. And you're going to do that by going to workshops and learning things that other people do so that you can incorporate those.
Yeah, thanks, DJ. Joey, I see your hand up. You always put your hand up and wait so patiently. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb and Curtis. So, going to the motivation thing, I just had a question. So you know, coming from a sales background of understanding like different impulse factors and stuff, ways to kind of motivate people. I have a few very motivated buyers right now that just don't care about interest rates. They're sick of renting, but I have a whole pipeline of buyers as well. And a lot of them are just kind of non-committal. So are there any impulse factors, whether it be indifference or fear of loss, or just what do you suggest? Just putting them on a long-term nurture to just kind of keep in touch with them, you know, as the next, you know, I don't know how long this process is going to take for this to kind of switch around this market. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on all that.
So this is just my initial thought. And here's what I know. I know that when I was selling, this is what I would do. We've got all these people in our database or in our pipeline somewhere. And when I was feeling like I'd need a deal or two to, you know, if I didn't have any like right now buyer, like, you know, if I only had 3 and I knew I needed 6 or 7 right now people, I would go back, and it was typically I missed something from the start. And what I would do is I'd call them and requalify them. I'd start the conversation over, hey, listen, maybe I'm missing the boat. Really like to dive back into, you know, remind me again, why were you buying? What are you looking for? And see if there's something I missed that I can then hang on to move them forward. That's what I would do. I know that one of the real estate teams I was working with, that's exactly what they were doing. They have this big database of all these leads they were paying for, and they've been talking to them for the last couple of years. And these people are on these drips and they're clicking, you know, and they're clicking on property, right? You can see what people are looking at and so on and so forth. And they dove back in, and that was exactly the conversation was, hey, let's get on the phone. Let's talk to these people. It's not a follow-up call. It's, hey, listen, I might have missed the boat. Start talking to them again, requalify them, go deeper. And they found fruit. They found deals. And so I'd probably start there. Joey, I know you're highly skilled and you probably, you know, did a great job the first time, but oftentimes we might have missed something. So that would just be my suggestion.
And situations change, right? When you talk to them, a long-term drip, yes, but business doesn't come from drips. Business comes from conversations. It's rare that the person will just randomly call you up and say, hi, I'm ready. Now, if you have 1,000 people in there, you might get onesie twosies. But if you have people that said, yeah, I kind of want to buy, and this also iPhone 13, what do you do with buyers who say they want to move in the next 3 months, but don't get pre-qualified? I'm going to ask them why they want to move. Because if they're not getting pre-qualified, they're not motivated. Why do they want to move? Is their lease expiring, and are they okay with renting? Because if they're not getting pre-qualified, I swear to God, I'm going next. Because I'm looking for the motivated. I'm looking for the motivated. I'm spending my time. I'm going to turn over the rocks, and I'm going to dive in and say, why 3 months? What's happening in 3 months that's causing you to move? On a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to have found your home in 3 months? Well, in order to be able to do that, the next step is getting pre-qualified. And if that is, now they may have resistance. They may feel like they have shame that their credit score is bad. So you might have to unpack that. You know, a lot of people think they can't get qualified, but listen, lenders talk to buyers just like you. Maybe they've, you know, got some things on their credit report, no big deal. Let's get a strategy in place, talk to one so that if it's not now, let's have a strategy for when you would be able to buy. Sometimes you have to recognize that where the resistance is, but I would dive back in, right? Same thing. Steve, I see your hand is up.
So I had to follow Joey's lead. Joey is so polite. Normally I just blurt everything out and overtalk everybody. So Joey's teaching me manners. Thank you, Joey.
My pleasure, Steve. My pleasure.
Yes, sir. So one of my favorite saying is when you generate, you don't have to tolerate. And that's one of the biggest things. I'll talk to agents that are, you know what I mean? I'm working with a couple of clients. What's their motivation? When are they looking? Oh, they're looking to close next year. Come on, you know, craziness. So when we generate, you don't have to tolerate. Revisions on numbers, I think we're looking at about 4.5, 4.6 million units, down from 5.2, which they had projected this year. If our goal is 20, 30, 40 closings a year, do you think there's enough room there to get your fair share if there's still going to be 4.4 million closings? So just keep that in mind. It's still possible. And then you can motivate people, but you can't motivate them. So you've got to find the ones that can move, that are ready, willing, and able, and that you can motivate. And that's all I got.
I'd like to add to that, Steve. That's great, because the more conversations, the more contacts you have, the more opportunities you have, right? So you don't have to go, well, I have 10 qualified buyers, or I got 10 buyers just holding back. Go get 20 buyers. So that way there you go, a pipeline of buyers ready to go, or sellers. See, a pipeline is the most critical component to your business, because you don't have to think about who do I have to go back to convince them to buy or motivate them to buy, like Steve mentioned. And the other thing is, if you know your customer well enough and you say, hey, Joe, listen, I got to show you this home. I know you're not ready right now, but I got to show it to you. And you gotta see it. It's an amazing house. They walk through it and they go, holy cow, yes, I'm in. How many times have you bought a vehicle, and I'll use a car as an example, where you look at the price and go, I'm not buying that, it's way too much money, and blah, blah, blah. And you go and test drive it, and you're sitting in the finance office, or you're paying cash. So get them into the home and let them feel it. How does this feel? Can you see yourself raising your kids here? Wow, which room would be your son, your daughters? Whoa, how would this home fit for you and your family? Can you see it Christmas or holidays or whatever it is? So you gotta be able to, like somebody said, think outside the box. Everything I'm saying right now isn't thinking outside the box. It's bringing stuff back that we had to do to get buyers in homes, because they gave up. Oh, there's too many short sales, there's too many REOs, there's too many this, and we can't get the right home. No, it's our job, and that's when we really earn the income, is when we can provide the service to go, hey, can you see this as your home? Can you see your family sitting in this kitchen over and over and over again? Can you see the kids out there playing? So hopefully that helps. If you know your customer well enough, and they're saying they're waiting till the rates come down or the prices come down, say, hey, Joe, I just seen this house. I was thinking of you and your family the whole time. I just got to show it to you. You may not want to buy it, and that's okay, but come and tell me what you think. Let's go walk through it.
And
All
DJ put a great thing, you know, people that don't want to get qualified are asking for more information. We have to get good at digging a little deeper, right? I want to wait till interest rates come down. Fantastic. Do you know when they're coming down? Because I don't have a crystal ball. And if we don't know, what if they go up? I just saw an economist say double digits next year. Are you willing to wait 2 years or 3 years? If you're willing to wait, great. I see Liz bouncing like crazy over there. Go ahead, Liz.
That's because the what are those Eagles thing, guy? What is that?
Okay, Philly is doing amazing in sports. Let's just be clear. We are playing San Diego right now. So go Phillies, go Birds. It's a bye week. We're still undefeated, Tom. Don't come for me. Good morning, guys. So I just wanted to talk a little bit, because a lot of us are talking about the interest rates. And guys, we have connect with your lender partners. They're offering 2-1 buy down rates. Like, if you guys don't know what that is, they're saying, hey guys, if your interest rate is 7% for the first year, it has to be seller funded. It has to come in the form of a closing credit, guys, of 3% towards closing costs. So they can use that money to buy down their interest rate 2 points for the first year. So if it's 7%, they're going to get it for 5% for the first year. The second year, they'll get it for 6% on this, and then they go back to their 7%. So in the event interest rates go down, they can refinance and they don't lose that money. They'll refinance, they'll keep that money, and it'll go as a principal payment. You guys should know that. You should know your market, know your craft. I had this conversation with a buyer yesterday who was very much on the fence, because he was like, hey, I don't want to pay $3,700 for a $480,000 house a month. And I'm like, well, do you want to consider this? And he goes, holy crap, let's go and put an offer in. So know your market, guys. Know how to get creative. This is the time right now to get creative and to really understand your people and understand their motivation and their hurdles so that you can overcome them. Can we get a class about buy down rates? No, but connect with your lenders. They will be able to tell you all of it. I know lenders are offering all kinds of things like $1,500. One lender is offering like $1,500 to go to Home Depot plus like a 3-2-1 buy down rate. Connect with your lenders. They will give you all of that information. We are not lenders, so we can't teach on it.
I just want to speak to, thank you, Liz. I just want to speak to that real quick. So I came from actually the mortgage industry before I got in the real estate industry. And so I've been through all these different things. And here's what's going to happen. So while rates have increased significantly, we'd all say, right? We got used to the 2.8 and the 3% and whatever else. And now we're at 7. Okay, whatever. Here's what's going to happen. And it's already happening, is the lenders are going to get more aggressive with some of the other products that we have not paid any attention to for the past handful of years. All we paid attention to is 30-year fixed, 15-year fixed. That's it. Flat, blah, 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 plain vanilla. So now they've come out with, 2-1 buy down. They've got some other aggressive, non-conventional, non-conforming type of products with minimal down payments and things of that nature. Some of this off the charts kind of stuff. And so if you don't, or whatever, you need to get with a lender, somebody you trust, or maybe a couple of them, and really find out what's actually happening right now, or what products that they have available. Because, and not that you're going to go out and sell them, but again, interest rates don't matter if you understand the motivation, but you'll at least have the firepower and some of the conversation that you can have to say, hey, call my lender. They have some great new products you might not have heard of that are going to help you with the interest rates or payments in the interim, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, that's it.
Will?
Could I just cut in here real quick?
Go ahead, Joey.
Yeah, I saw too, just, to add to that, I saw my lender, she reached out to me the other day with a 10-1 arm at 5.25% interest, and it won't adjust until 10 years. And then you can refinance before the rate goes up. So I guess going from what you're saying, I would reach out to the lender and find out if they have any additional products that you're not aware of yet. If you're not staying in communication with that person, it could help move the buyer down the pipeline a little, right? I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Hey, Joey, call all those unmotivated people and say, oh my God, guess what I just found out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what I was going to say is kind of along the same lines. There's plenty of options out there. If you don't have a lender partner that is willing to educate you, move on to somebody else. Ali Partovi is part of our group. He's amazing. He and I spent some time on the phone this week just discussing some options. Joey's talking about the adjustable rate mortgage. That's going to work right now if people are worried about that. I've also got a couple of deals right now. A VA loan and an FHA loan are assumable mortgages at their base. So I've got a couple of those that I'm working on right now. I'm scared that one of them will probably not, they might decline it because it's at 2.125%. So I'm afraid that the lender is not going to agree to go ahead and let the buyer assume that. So I don't know, but there are definitely other options out there. Don't be afraid of it and find a lender who's willing to educate you.
Cool. Deep, did you have something?
Yeah, I'm so glad you had this conversation. I was excited for a few days. Curtis knows that. Because this is what we chat, we put in the text, and this is what I'm hearing from other agents. I'm a senior agent, so I've been here too long. I've been through the cycle before. But guys, it really comes down to the same thing. Tom, Curtis, Debbie, DJ, George talks about the basics, the L and the Q. Listen, and I put the right questions in front of them. Going back to what Liz said about the buy down programs, guys, if you see a property on the market long enough, ask for seller credits. You can buy down the points for your buyer. It's very simple. Less money coming out of their pocket, you can buy down points. $8,000 can get you anywhere from 1 point, 1.5 points. That's a big savings when it comes to when you look at the mortgage payments. So please team up with somebody. If you don't have one, get one. If you don't know, learn it. Call me, I'll explain. Just be more educated, just listen and really get down to the basic. I'm not even sure how easy to, what else to say. Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
I had one more question too. So right now, I'm capped, so I got about 5 months left that I could, capitalize on 100%. Do you think like buying someone's inspection or paying for an appraisal would kind of be a motivating factor for some people?
This is just my 2 cents.
I don't give up my money. I just really, if you're gonna, if a $300 or $600 appraisal is gonna make a difference. Now, will I bend over backwards for a first-time home buyer that's really literally scraping things together, literally zero money down? For sure. I might give up half my commission because I'm all in on that. But other than that, again, you got to find the motivated. If people are not making an offer, I'm not volunteering my commission to help them make I'm looking for someone that's motivated. But for a first-time home buyer, I'll waive my commission because I'm so excited about helping them. I don't even care. But anyone else, no. Because it's not about the incentives. It's about whether they're motivated or not.
And if you start giving, when do you stop?
For a seller says, well, a lot of people will list it for 2% or for 5%. Will you do that? No. Thank you very much. I actually stand and thank them at that moment and said, I don't think I'm the right agent for you. And then they usually stop. One person let me walk out. Everyone else has stopped me. Why didn't you hire that person who said they would do it for 5%?
And I've never taken a discount on my commission either. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I'm just trying to think of ways to get more buyers right now.
I would rather buy them a $300 or a $500 closing gift, or I'd rather buy them a beautiful shrub to beautify their front yard so that the pictures look better. I'd rather do things like that are proactive. I'm not saying never, Joey. You're smart enough to know when to say yes to that or no to that. I just don't think that's going to motivate an unmotivated person. It's not going to move the needle if they're not already motivated.
Yeah, I know we're kind of touching on the motivation factor. I was just thinking about using it as a lead generation tactic to try to get more buyers, because the market for sellers right now is not really the best, and buyers are getting contracts accepted left and right. You can get them.
I do the 2-1. Have you heard about the 2-1 buy down or the 10-1 arm?
I got the 10-1 arm. Yeah.
Calling to educate all my buyers to make sure, because everybody seems freaked out about interest rates. So let me just tell you what's available now and see if they bite.
And I tell my people too that rent is 100% interest. And it kind of like rattles their cage a little bit.
I like the, are you okay with paying someone else's mortgage? Because you're paying a mortgage. It's just not yours.
Joey, could I add something real quick for you guys there? I think the best script you're going to use is, we were in Vegas at EXPCon, and John Cheplack said that discounts are cheap, incentives give rewards. So one of the incentives you can do is, instead of saying, hey, have you heard of 2-1 buy down? Because not a lot of people aren't even going to understand it. I would say right now we have a rare window where a seller will help pay your mortgage for the first 2 years that you live in the house. Do you want to know more about that? And that'll get them interested, because 2-1 buy down, even as a lender, I'm like, that doesn't really appeal to me. But you put that emotional side, we have a rare window where the seller will pay for the first 2 years, help you pay for your house, pay a mortgage payment. Are you interested in learning more? Let's hop on a call. Let's go out and start searching property. And that's when you can explain that to them.
No, that's a hook.
I
That's
learned
genius.
script today. Thank you, Ali.
I'm going to hang out with Allie more.
Can you repeat it one more time so I can finish writing it down?
See, this is what happens when you take a trip to New York City. You get it motivated. But no, what I would tell you is that when you're having this conversation with buyers, and if you're working with your lender partner, tell them to use the same script, because one of the best things you can do is bring your lender partner into your prospecting calls with your buyers, because they can answer any questions with that buyer right off the bat. So the script is, we have a rare window right now where sellers will help make your payments for the next 2 years when you buy their house. Let's talk about it. And that's a 2-1 rate buy down right there.
I love that. Love it. Wow.
Did anybody get that and put it in the chat?
Claire's already probably typing it.
I'll tell you guys one more time. We have a rare window, right? We're talking about, the
She
fact that
already
it's
did.
rare. Yeah, we have a rare window where sellers will help make your mortgage payment for the next 2 years when you buy their house. Let's talk more about that. That's a 2-1 rate buy down.
Now, can we
you
talk
also have
about
a-
that?
What is that?
Can we talk about that process and how that works? Because I'm very interested, Ali, in learning more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't we get my lender on the call? We'll talk about it specifically in your case. Boom, there you go. And then the other thing that's really important too is that, then when you can bring up the arm, you can also factor in this as well. People think you have to put 20% down. Oftentimes what I find is sometimes paying the mortgage insurance and having enough reserves is more important, or buying down your rate as opposed to putting more down payment actually will give you a better monthly payment that you can afford versus putting a lot more cash down. So that's another option to do. But really, that's how I think Debbie said it. Don't snorkel, scuba dive. Really get in there. Let your lender be on those conversations with you. Because when you do a 3-way call, whether it's a Zoom call or a conference call or even in person, it's much more effective because the buyer will listen more intently. If it's not coming from you, it's coming from a third party. That George always says, third party edification. So get your lender on the call with them, get them on a Zoom call. Even if you guys are texting back and forth, I would strongly suggest, and this is something that I've done more now, is do video text messages versus texting just what do you call it? Just word. Just do video recording, just like I'm doing right now. Great hook to get people excited and interested. And also it really frames it more emotionally that, if the seller's going to help you pay for the first 2 years, I mean, builders do this all the time, right? They'll say, hey, we'll pay for your HOA capital contribution, your HOA fees for the next 2 years. And that gets them right in.
Hey, you know what? This is a great idea, even for your sellers. Think about this. If you're a seller-focused agent and you want to snag those buyers where those agents are not educated on, like the opportunities that we have with Ollie's and everybody else here, if you put that verbiage in maybe the realtor remarks or maybe some verbiage in the public remarks, holy cow, you're going to get more attention than the neighbor's house, and it may be more a better buy, but yours is getting more attention because you're being more creative. And it's not being creative, it's what is really available to you. Just changing.
Yeah, and one other thing, when we went to EXPCon, I really tried to connect with as many of the vendors that were there and Home Partners of America, and I know Divvy also does that too. If you have a buyer who's very scared of the market, one of the possibilities is for them to rent with a possibility of purchasing that home, and Home Partners of America allows you to do that. So that they don't have to worry about, okay, well, maybe I may not like this neighborhood, or maybe I don't want to buy yet, whatever interest rates are, but they can actually rent to own kind of option as well. So having that menu of options available for your buyers will get them more engaged than if you were to just go ahead and say, hey, I'll pay for your inspection fee or anything like that, where it's an incentive, but it's not going to move the needle.
I see we have a couple of hands up. Liz and Claire had something we wanted to talk about. If you could make it real quick, that'd be awesome.
So I'm going to be real quick, and then I'll turn it over to Lizette because this is awesome. Please, 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 Coach Curtis and Coach Debbie, thank you for this conversation. It is crucial and it is vital. And here's the reason why. If you notice, when all of us used our real estate vernacular, 2-1 buy down, 10-1, all this, did you notice how many people in the chat were like, I'm lost, I don't know what's going on? So if we're using this in our external conversations for promotion purposes, the normal consumer doesn't understand it. However, that script that Ali uses is normal conversation. And when we're having those normal conversations, that's scuba diving. I kind of look at it as deep sea fishing as opposed to like fishing with a line off a dock. If I am trolling for the right people with the right bait, they will come. So it's my responsibility to not use real estate vernacular. It is my responsibility to use consumer vernacular that helps them understand the market today. So thank you, coaches, for being on this call because we all needed it.
Hey, wait, real quick, before we get into, I think it's Lizette, is that right? That has, okay, before Lizette has something to say, I just want to ask a question. So we have like 80 people on this Zoom, okay? And so I'm not really asking a question, but I'm going to ask you to do something. So here's what I'd like you to do, because there's a whole lot of people that haven't said anything, but what I'd like to know is what have you heard and what have you learned so far? Put it in the chat, right? I want to see you guys blow up the chat. I want to know, what have you learned? What have you heard today? Because this is being recorded and it's important to us. And so anyway, so blow the chat up. Lizette, please, let's hear from you.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that one of the things, like, again, a lot of the work when you're working with buyers is really done on the front end. You know, one of the things that we don't think about is when you're working with a lender partner, you need to take out time before you start sending them business. And I'm saying this because I'm redoing it again. If you're an experienced agent and you have lender partners, you have to periodically sit down and say, what's the plan and how are we going to communicate to the buyers, right? We all need to be on the same page. Are we going to talk about rate buy downs? Are we going to talk about, because sometimes you send them over to the lender, they're saying one thing, and then you're trying to present one thing, and then it confuses the buyer. So in other words, you get with the lender to, in a way, train them, right? Train them how, because you got to set up the expectation with the lender that, hey, we're here to close, but also putting the interest of the buyer first, right? Because we all care about our clients, but at the same time, the lender needs to understand what the expectation and what is the language that we're going to be. It's almost like a marriage, right? So, husband and wife, we get together, we're going to talk about the kids, it's kind of that concept, like this is how we're going to work with our buyers, because super, super important. A lot of times we wonder why we're not closing deals, we're not doing this, but a lot of it is there's a lot of things said in the buyer's experience that, right, gets them off track or whatever they're going through. And also the lenders also need to project. Again, they work like lenders, but sometimes we need to remind them that on the real estate side, there are things that they need to consider when we're talking to the client. What I'm saying is the lenders should be doing the heavy lifting as the rates and all that, but also making sure that you guys are on the same page when you're talking to the buyers.
For sure. So how many of you would like a easy button to do all this stuff? No, Claire's going, no, I don't want an easy button. I want to make it hard. I want to climb that mountain with no shoes on, in the cold, in the snow, uphill. I want to make it hard. So let me ask you, how many of you don't have to raise your hand, are off track on your goal towards this end of this year? Because I know from April, thank you, Claire, for being honest. So you're off track. So what's your gap? Just in your head, what's your gap that you're off track? Are you off track one deal, 2 deals, 5 deals, just in your head? Now, real quick, what's your average commission, right? Let's say 5,000, right? Your average commission might be high. Where's the gap? So if you're off by 5 deals and you have a $5,000 commission, that's 25 grand, right? So let me ask you a quick question. Is 25 grand greater than 299? Okay, who sees where I'm going with this? Claire does. So Grit is coming up November 1st, and the QR code is right there. It's $299, and it's 4 weeks to a 6-figure pipeline. So if you want to recreate that 25 grand, if you want to get access to that, if you want to build your skill, if you want to get into action quickly, get into Grit. So do you consider yourself a good investor? If someone said to you, are you a wise investor? Do you know how to look at a deal and determine if it's good or not? Well, if I said to you, you give me $299 and I'm going to give you 100 grand, how many of you would take that? So the QR code's right there. Hold up your phone. If it's not working, if it's too small, you go to agentgrowthinstitute.com/grit, because Grit is an investment for you. And let me just share something. Grit is about coaching and conditioning. Change in your life happens through coaching and conditioning. Training is awesome. Grit is laced with training, but coaching and conditioning is what transform your life. 90% of your success is mindset, because if you have the right mindset, You can be successful in business, you can be successful in health, you can be successful in parenting and relationships. It starts with mindset, but we all have little voices in our heads that say, I don't have time. It's 2 hours twice a week. I don't have the money. It's recorded. We can send it to you. I took grit before. I don't need to take it again. Let me ask you a quick question. You don't have to raise your hand. How many of you are doing the 30 hard? If you were in grit, how many of you are doing 30 hard? And if you're not, awesome. Guess what? We all need tune-ups. Come back. Come back. You will get 10 times more the second time. That little voice in your head plays a game at a high level. But grit was written. You know, the program that Curtis and I taught, Bold, was written for the last shift. Curtis and I wrote grit for this market, the market coming up, to help agents stay in the business, develop their skill, get the right mindset, and get into action so that this shift doesn't kick you out of the business. We want you all here next year. Don't leave us. Get into action. So people say, well, what if I have to miss, right? It's twice a week. What if I have to miss a class? There will be recordings. First, you make the choice, then the choice makes you. So if you choose, and we love you, if you choose not to go to grit, we love you, but recognize that's a choice. That's a choice to not take action. And by the way, you know, you can check with the people there before. We did some deep dive role plays where we did some analysis. We may decide to move that up earlier in the class so that you get access to that sooner. We had done it closer to the end of the class. The average grit student creates a six-figure pipeline in 9 sessions. And you're like, that sounds unbelievable. Reach out into your peers. Ask them if they found $100,000 of business in their pipeline during the class. So we're committed. And the reason we talk about this is because we're committed to your success and we want you to be here. We want you to be here next year. So if you have questions, reach out to me, reach out to Curtis, reach out to DJ, reach out to Tom, reach out to Deep, reach out to Claire, reach out to Joey, reach out to anybody that had been involved with grit, and they will help you. And if by chance you don't have that money, reach out to someone and see if they're willing to set an agreement. I don't recommend anybody pay for anybody else, because if you don't have skin in the game, you won't show up. But reach out to someone and they will help you, because we want to see you succeed. And this is a shortcut. It's a shortcut to make sure that you're going to be prepared for 2023. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Hey, Debbie, yesterday we had well over 75 attendees in that room yesterday. And I will tell you, when I introduced this at the end, there was probably more than half that said, I need to do this. People came up to me and said, I'm concerned. I'm like, do this. And, you know, the hesitation has always been, am I spending money or am I making an investment? Well, I'm going to let you know, if you don't invest in this, you'll pay Uncle Sam that money instead. So use it as a deduction, as an investment. And by the way, what's the worst thing that happens? You grow. And you're prepared for that first quarter at the highest level than you can ever imagine. Right now, realtors are more concerned about going on vacation and giving up between now and the rest of the year. I know that because I've ran big brokerages and I'm like, get the heck out of your house and get in the office and get on the phone. So now is your opportunity. And this is a massive opportunity. So
and it's super fun. Like, we have a great time. We laugh, we joke, we share, we build relationships. It's a real, even though it's a virtual event, it feels like a community. So it's an amazing place to build your business.
100%. And I'm not teaching it, which is even better for you guys. All right. the floor is open.
I just got to say something about the monetary exchange there. That money is energy, and I promise you that you will not even notice that money gone in a month from now if you make that investment. It's going to be like it never even existed.
I love that. Money is energy. And by the way, you put it on a, I'm not saying go into credit card debt, but $300 on a credit card versus something else, guys, it'll pay it off on your first commission before the credit card statements due.
Hey, Tom, I think that sometimes we come into the real estate business and some of us are still wired, and I see it all the time, the 8 to 5 job mindset. Like,
Yep.
I'm going to spend, I'm going to spend on a class. I'm going to spend on this. And we have to rewire that we're investing in our business. And more importantly, we're investing in ourselves. I think one of my best years, I did all sorry, my phone's, I did all the conferences I did. And I think that was my best year. The more I invested into trainings and all that, the more, financial reward I saw. So I just want to put that out there too.
That's
Thank you for that. And I just wanted to add, and I'd love to hear from somebody that went to Grit. Thanks, Joey. And we limited it, guys. I do want to tell you that we've limited the number of registrations that we're going to take because we want to make it the most powerful for those who attend. And we've got quite a few other Zooms with other EXP folks booked out next week throughout the country. So we're offering, this is the, I think, first Zoom of those, and we've brought it to you. But we are throwing it out there next week to quite a few different participants in some very large groups. And so we just want to make sure that this group, because we're part of it, gets their opportunity.
I'm going, my first time.
Let me just say that it's, Christmas time is coming up. It's a great Christmas gift for you. So it's a time to, focus on your business when everybody else isn't. And what better gift could you give yourself? 2 hours a day or 2 days a week to grow your business $100,000. Kind of a no-brainer.
One more thing, we changed the time. We're doing it during lead gen. It's about some lead gen, about building your business, just saying.
Yeah. Could incorporate the lead gen with it.
Wait, what's the new time?
This is Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, we're doing 9:30 to 11:30. So you can be on the GPS call. And then at 9:30, we kick off till 11:30. We had some folks that said, hey, listen, could you move the time up? So we get into the habits. Because remember, it is coaching and conditioning. It is about building the habits, right? Of doing the right things and things for our business. So anyway, that's why we moved.
Fantastic. Natasha, you got snow up there yet? Because it's not snowing here in Florida. It's going to be 85 today.
We had flurries the other day, but it's like 46 degrees. So we gotten better. We were 37 yesterday.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know if I should have wore a long sleeve shirt or a short sleeve shirt today. So I went with short sleeve.
Hey, Tom.
Wonderful.
Sorry, quick question. So it's 9:35. We've done what we came to do, and we're obviously still here. We've moved around our commitments to actually be able to stay on these calls a little bit longer. So this is quote unquote what, the after party? What's that all about? Somebody tell me what the after party is, and let's do this after party.
Come on, Liz, turn it up.
Well, we
What do we do?
gotta
Play music?
turn off the record first, right? Because then it's
Yeah,
all
that's the deal.
shenanigans.
You got to turn off the record so people can speak their mind, I guess.
We start swearing? What do we
Everything
do?
you say about George is it's not recorded, so you can't prove anything.
Hold on, here we go, guys. Wait, you guys are so shy. Stop the live. Stop.